own. So we've got to behave a little bit more graciously one toward another. That'd be a concept. Then what we did on the upper deck was sort of like you would have a gift basket or an Easter basket wrapped again in this violet light with sort of a top notch that you could almost grab the two floors and separate them if you wanted to. And the reason I wanted a top notch on the top floor was it actually looked a bit flame-like. So it was just for an inner visual to help her get a sense of protection, a sense of everything is in the right place at the right time. And it reminded me, interestingly, of a little scenario. A number of years ago, I was studying a topic called pranic healing. And it was all about just this kind of thing where you would protect your belongings and learn hidden protection secrets, which really worked very well. And at the end of the conference, I was checking out, and a young gal and her husband rushed back in, and she's ashen. She's looking awful. They had checked out and had gone on to the next adventure when she realized she had left her wedding ring and engagement ring in the top drawer in the hotel. And she knew by now there would certainly, she didn't know what was going to happen. So she ran back to the room. They got the keys, got her in there. There was both of the rings tucked exactly where she left them in the corner of the drawer. The room had already been completely cleaned. When she came down, she simply explained what she had done when she went into the hotel in the first place and took the rings off. She put them in the drawer, surrounded them in this violet light, put out the thought that they are invisible, and therefore they were completely protected. It was absolutely fantastic. So that's the sort of updated news. Feng Shui-wise, we do have a new moon coming this weekend. The new moon is going to be in Scorpio, so we kind of have a double Scorpio hit of it's your chance to die right, kind of like straighten up and die right. And this is a birthing. This is the Phoenix energy. You can't be reborn unless you die. So would you please have a lovely time in your own dying process, and don't get your knees in a knot about it. Just enjoy it. Let the journey be. Okay, so since we have a new moon in Scorpio this weekend, we also have the entrance of the great energy of Lakshmi. Now, many of you who are listening to this know that energy, and you know there's a whole lot to be done. Those of you who don't know what that energy is, I'm going to take you through it sort of in a crash course. You may want to get a pencil and take some notes. I will be giving a little chant or invocation, and if you can't catch it because I say it too quickly, then please email me, and I'll be happy to send you the invocation either via snail mail or email. So if you have to email, it's purpleportal777@gmail.com. You may want some of this information because it is delightfully delicious. So who the heck is Lakshmi, and how do you even spell her name? So her name is L-A-K, S is in Sam, H, M is in Mary, I. And Lakshmi is the goddess energy of all wealths, all fertilities. Yes, people in India, this is a Hindu goddess, and people in India use the energy or invoke the energy of the goddess for actually getting pregnant. And those of us who that is not on our agenda at this time, whether you be male or female, it's the energy of getting pregnant with new ideas and any new wealth that you can conjure up. So this year, here's the drum roll, Lakshmi's appearance is felt Saturday night, October 29th. And I'm going to talk more about that. But first, I want you to understand that to really experience this great presence, you have to invoke it. You got to ask. You got to call upon it. If you don't call upon it, well, it falls under my admonition of no asky, no getty. So you're not going to hear anything or experience anything unless you actually ask. So the idea of invoking means start with a little ritual, a humble little ritual. For example, light a candle. The candle, it's actually the fire element, and a candle clears the air of any kind of negativity or angst or even illness that's hanging in the air. You know, when I come into this little studio, I always bring my little candle because I want to clear the air of anybody who was in here before me that may have had a bad air day. I do hope you caught the pun of that. For such an important ceremony, if you can't afford to actually purchase a new candle, which I do kind of suggest new is good, then if funds are low, just think a flame. Or, push comes to shove, find an old candle and use that. But fire is what you need. Fire is a source of pulling energy toward you. Any color candle is fine with me, although it seems that the Lakshmi energy really enjoys red or gold. So when you actually light the candle and devote the simple action to this presence, you're doing it in her honor. And take a minute to think about what good fortune means to you, because at this point you're actually invoking the goddess of all good fortune. So does your concept of good fortune require any thinking? You know, if any of you are into journaling and you look back to 2009 and you see what you journaled, you kind of get a little sick to your stomach because all the things that were so important and meaning good fortune to you, generally that's changed. So reflect again, what is your good fortune? What's your idea of it? And get real clear about that. Okay, so here's the invocation for Lakshmi. Goddess Lakshmi, Mother of Divinity, shine your radiant smile upon me. Shower my life with golden wealths in every manner. Thank you, O lotus-born Lakshmi. And then chant Om Shri Mahalakshmi Eswaha. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Eswaha. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Eswaha. It's almost like certainly you're intoning it, but these tones and the fire draw things to you. Because we've moved so far away from the interaction with nature and Mother Earth, many people have lost that simplistic understanding of drawing something correctly to us or repelling it. We've become all tangled up in our thinking, in really crummy programming. So there's a lot to understanding just the simple power of draw it to you. There's another final way to kind of clear the air, and I'm just going to, this will maybe hurt some of your ears. Other ears will feel very good by it. Those are Tibetan singing bells. They're called tingsha bells. It's a wonderful tool to clear as well as to draw. It's kind of like a double dip tool. So who is this Lakshmi actually? And how did I find out about her? That's it's an interesting part of the journey. In 2000, when I received the inner guidance to open a retail shop, which was news to me because I didn't think that was on my agenda, but it's how the presence of me wanted to express itself. So I opened a retail shop with not much money at all, if indeed none. And one day, which meant the bottom line there is no money to advertise. And it's challenging to have a retail shop when you can't advertise and no one knows you're the new kid on the block and in the town. And I was sitting there trying to just fluff up the place and keep everything sparkling and twinkling. and sending out violet spirals into the community, which actually is the reason why the shop took off enormously. But this one lovely early autumn day, the door flew open, and technically it looked like she flew in, a woman I'd never seen before or since. And she simply stated, "Oh, I'm at like an ashram up in New York State, and I'm down here for the day, and I don't know how I got in here, but, oh, I'm here just for the day because I got to get back. Lakshmi's coming." And I'm like, "Who's Lakshmi?" I grew up in the traditional, very Christian family, so Hinduism was not exactly on my plate at that time, and I could barely even pronounce her name. It took me several tries. And then she just went on this magnificent, very brief spiel of Lakshmi is the goddess of all wealths, and she's a Hindu goddess, and in South India they honor her at the full moon, and at the northern India we honor her at the new moon, which is why, and she said that's what most Americans do. We honor her at the new moon, which is this Saturday. So Lakshmi is actually the female aspect of the god Vishnu. And some of you who have just a smattering or a lot of Hinduism understand that name. And she's called the lotus born. And she's her name, Shri, that Lakshmi part, is actually known to be the female energy of the Supreme Being. So it's not counterintuitive or against anything you've ever known or studied. Matter of fact, every religion has their different deities. My sense now, because I've studied most of the major philosophies, is I want to take the best of all of them. I don't want to leave anybody out. I want to be every bit of what they all are, as they are holding the frequency underneath all of the drivel now that goes on in most religions and philosophies. But underneath all that, there is the underlying tone of the frequency of oneness and the one supreme energy, and allowing that to be radiating through each person. It's so simple that the most of the religions have now completely lost it, glossed over it, and twisted it. So I have a tremendous appreciation for this energy. And she appears not only as the goddess of good fortune, but of righteousness, fulfilling desires, certainly physical wealth, but all wealths. And one of the little things she's really good at is helping you with the complete liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth. Now, for some of you, that's very daunting because you feel you lose your identity. Well, that's going to be a topic for another day because you actually don't. Lakshmi has 4 arms, or so it would appear, and cascades of gold coins are seen pouring from her hands, which is simply giving the ever outpouring message of infinite supply. And the infinite supply, because we're all one, is within you. And she's just there reminding you of that. There's often 2 elephants shown standing next to her and spraying water. And this is representing the idea of the purity within, and just the effortless, it should be effortless, method of gaining both material and spiritual prosperity. So both physical, material, and spiritual prosperity are sprayed upon you constantly if you can go there. If you can't go there, it's not for you. Sorry. Okay, if you want to call in and ask anything, think about it. Okay, the Lakshmi energy is held in a festival cycle, and it's called the Festival of Lights. And this is where we begin to have a whole sensation of the use of lighting and fire. So it starts with